Hey everybody, my name is Sharon Quinn and I'm also known as the original runway diva, and you are watching Model Behavior. Class is officially in session. Today my guest lecturer is Patrick Riley, best known for his work as a freelance senior field producer at the Oprah Winfrey Show for over 13 years. His new book, That's What Friends Are For, on the women who inspired me, is set to be released in March 2018. Welcome, Patrick Riley, to Model Behavior.
Thank you, Sharon Quinn. It's exciting to be here with you.
I'm happy to have you.
You know, we've had a chance, I want everybody to know, to be around each other. We have wonderful friends in common. We see each other socially. So to be able to sit down with you face to face and to chat it up is a good thing. So thank you for having me.
No, I appreciate you coming because I know how busy you are. Yes. And how you miss the popularity.
Well, hey.
So I want to jump right into it. You know I want to talk about Oprah.
My goodness.
Just get that right out the way.
I'll say what I can say. You know, it's a proprietary world, if you will, the Oprah Winfrey Show. But I can tell you whatever you want to know.
Well, what I want to know, first and foremost, what does a field producer do?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, in TV news, there are producers that will maybe stack a show. So that means they're working to dispatch the reporters to their respective assignments.
Okay.
They are determining what those stories are going to be for a show, and they are just making sure all the elements in place for a show are put together for that hour or that 30 minutes. As a field producer, I'm often the one, like a reporter, who is dispatched by the assignment desk to go and get the story. I go into the field with the crew, interview the subject just as an interviewer would or a reporter would, make sure that we get the footage that you would need from the respective shoot. If we're in if we're in some celebrity's home, I want to make sure we're getting all the shots that we need that are telling the story that I'm there to get.
Okay.
If I'm at
But you're not actually on camera?
I'm not on camera, but for the Oprah Show, over the years, the 13 years that we were doing it, they began to break the fourth wall on field producers. We were a part of ambushing a surprised viewer with whatever the big wildest dream we were introducing them to. So over time, I did eventually begin to do more on camera as a field producer, but typically a field producer is not on camera.
Okay, I just want to be clear. So the film producer, do you get a script of what the story is about?
So the field producer is a part of the production team. So if the producer for the show has determined that we need you to go to Shirley MacLaine at the Hotel Bel Air in LA to interview her about her latest book. So we're going to, as a team, read the book. We're going to, as a team, determine what we want to ask her. As a team, we're going to maybe make a decision on what we want in the taped piece. And then we're going to put a shot sheet together because we want to make sure that everything we want editorially, we get her to talk about and that we visually have represented. So if it's pictures that we need from a certain moment in her career, we want to make sure we get those shots. If it's just visuals of her on her property or visuals of her walking, we want to make sure we get those shots. So all of that stuff is put into a shot sheet or a shoot outline. And it is my job as the field producer to make sure everything on our plan that we get.
Got it.
And if we have 2 hours to do it, that's great. If we have all day to do it, that's great.
Even better.
It depends and it ranges, but a field producer really is kind of the extension of what's going on in studio. But we take it all back to edit, put it together, and it becomes some of the material that the host then tosses to. You know, we had an opportunity to talk with Shirley MacLaine at the Hotel Bel Air, and then the host, Oprah or whomever, tosses to that tape.
Okay.
And so as a field producer, I'm the one that got that tape back home and complete.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
No, it's a good question because there are all types of
Yes.
producers, film producers, TV producers, but that field producer, it's a specific role. It is a much more mobile role. We have to have a little more creativity and personality, which is why I'm kind of a hyphenate. I'm a producer slash talent slash writer.
Why do you have to have personality?
You have to have it because you really need to be able to manage not just the technical parts of what you're doing. You got to get them to sign the release. You got to get them to go into the garage to get those pictures from 1962 because you really need them for the piece.
You gotta turn on
and
the
you just
charm.
have to engage all of that, and then to get your result.
Got it.
And I've been fortunate to have had that training prior to, but
That's what
Oprah
my
was
next
the
question
best
was.
place to do it.
How did you get started in production?
Well, I'm from Savannah, Georgia, and so my sister went to Clark College. It was Clark College at the time, and Clark College is a big mass communications department that, though Spike Lee, for example, is a Morehouse man, a lot of what he did to train was through Clark, because Clark had the TV training.
Okay.
It had the studio, it had the radio stuff. So because School Days was a big movie at the time, A Different World was on the air, I felt like I wanted to go to a black college. I wanted to go to something that looked like Hillman, And so Morehouse was the answer. And to find out that, Spike went there, Samuel L. Jackson went there, Bill Nunn, you remember Radio Raheem from Do the Right Thing? He was literally a mentor that Morehouse placed with me my freshman week at Morehouse. So
Really?
I got access to not only great mentors who were doing it, the entertainment business, the news business, the production business, but I also got the chance to learn it through Clark and its mass communications department. So that was my training. And because Clark, Morehouse, in Atlanta, in the 90s, at a time where LA and Face had just come to town, Jermaine Dupri was getting ready to launch
This is
So
just
Def.
before Atlanta hit that.
Just before Atlanta became the new Motown or
Yes,
Hollywood
yeah,
East,
yeah,
if
yeah,
you will.
yeah.
And so as a student coming up, I interned at V103, the radio station. I got chances to intern at the local TV stations, WSB TV. So by the time I graduated college, I was a reporter trainee at the WSB, the #1 station, because I had been an intern for Monica Kaufman, who's now Monica Pearson, but she was the iconic anchor in Atlanta. So I got all my training under these amazing experts of color who really invested in me and gave me the ability to know that news wasn't what I wanted to do, but because I was trained on the skill set, I immediately kind of identified that I wanted to probably move into to that world of talk, to be able to kind of do the production skill, but to marry it to entertainment, passion, pop culture, human interest. Hard news wasn't my thing, early on.
Now, it said, I think it was your bio that you sent me a lot of stuff.
Well,
Because you've done a lot of stuff.
25
and I asked
years.
for a lot of
yeah,
stuff.
one booking at a time, sweet Jesus. But yeah, a lot of stuff.
I just want to know about the interview with Barack Obama.
Yeah. So working for the Oprah Winfrey Show has given me amazing assignment after assignment. And one of the most amazing assignments was the opportunity to interview Barack Obama at Oprah's Legends Ball that she did in 2005. Do you remember the
Yes,
Legends
I
Ball?
do. You see, but the hairs on my neck standing up.
Yeah, it was literally a once-in-a-lifetime moment in which she honored all of her legends that meant something to her, but it so happened that they mean something to the world.
Yes.
I said to her at the end, I said, I'm so happy that your legends are my legends. If my world ended on that Sunday, it would
to
have been
be a fly
okay.
on the wall at that place. Ooh, I saw the footage from that.
Hey.
Cicely Tyson up in hell.
I'm fly on the wall. All right, I'm fly on the wall. I'm fly on the wall. Because as a field producer, I was assigned to interview them all for those 3 days in Santa Barbara. I interviewed Diana, Cicely Tyson, Tina Turner, Diane Carroll. They were all there.
I'm sorry.
And so there's this young man and his wife, Senator Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, who were in attendance at this amazing event. And it would turn out, we didn't show this in the primetime special because we were chronicling this just archivally for our archival purposes. but we had so much good stuff and so many amazing things happened that weekend that it was green-lighted as a primetime special. So it's my first primetime special as a producer was the Legends Ball.
What was it like?
And
to meet him.
Like, you know, keep in mind, I wasn't meeting President Obama.
Right,
I was meeting the promise of what he was going to be. But can I tell you, there were goosebumps.
Yes.
He approaches me on the red carpet at the red and white ball. At the white tie ball that Saturday night of that 3-day weekend, and he says, "I've never been afraid to extol the beauty and the talents of black women," and there was just something in those words that spoke to me. And I spoke to Michelle as well, who was deemed a youngin', there to honor the legends as well, alongside Mariah Carey and Janet Jackson and Debbie Allen and Felicia Rashad. And there was something special about her too, you know, because these were these two this is a Chicago power couple that you'd heard about. I knew a little bit more about because I was in and out of Chicago, but whoa, it was very palpably what the world was going to become. It was possible on that night for me.
Wow.
When I was interviewing him.
Did you get a photograph for y'all?
I got a photograph, and I would have a few more moments with him over the years on his road to the White House and since to remind him that I was with him at the beginning, you know. And he's always been gracious about it.
Okay, so let's talk about your book.
Yes.
Clearly, are some of those photographs from that going to be in that book?
Well, I'll tell you this. The interesting thing is Dorothy Books came to me. It's a new publishing house out of Washington, D.C. And these are people who've been following Patrick Riley for all these years. They've been following what I've done professionally. So they knew I worked for Oprah. They know as a freelancer or freelance producer, I've worked for Wendy and BET, the whole nine. But they also had been following my blog. My blog's A Day in the Life of Riley, Pop Culture and Possibilities. And since 2005, I've just been digesting everything inclusive of what I do as a producer, but beyond. Just kind of, hey, Patrick, what'd you do today? And that's kind of what my blog would be.
How long have you had this blog?
Since 2005. Before really like blogs were the thing.
Blogs are, I mean, I had one.
Yeah.
And you have to be committed to that.
You have to be committed. So my commitment that was 2005. So my commitment since 2005 would have Dorothy Books come to me and say, we see all your great pictures. We have read all your great stories. What would it be for you to do a book celebrating these amazing women that you always seem to be around? You know, not just Oprah and Diana, but just women you see on an average, Sharon Quinn. Just on an average day, there's some fabulous woman in my mix, whether it's in Harlem or whether it's on the road. And so they challenged me to really appraise my assets, look at those pictures, see what you think of those pictures, remember those moments, look at those great highlights in your career, those great things that you've stumbled into while you've lived in New York City since I had moved here in 2005 as well. 95, I'm sorry, I moved here in 1995, I'm sorry. And so they thought, like, what would it be for you to just sort of celebrate black women and all the things that they've done and why they've inspired you? And so that's what Friends Are For.
Is this like go ahead and finish the
On
title.
the women who inspired me is about.
Is this like a coffee table book? Or?
It's a multi-hyphenate. It's part memoir because there are 18 chapters that I wrote that are categorized thematically. So I write about the divas in one chapter. I write about the Legends Ball in one chapter because I mean that stands alone.
Yeah.
I write about young starlets in Hollywood. I write about civil rights women, you know, women who've inspired me from that world. So each chapter is about something different categorically, and inside of that chapter are just my memories of these amazing women that I've either met or who've inspired me along the way.
Your mama's in that book?
My mama is my first diva,
Yes.
and I lost her when I was 23, so
Sorry.
having lost her so young, and because she was such a cheerleader, I should speak her name, Queen Elizabeth Bellinger Riley.
Yes.
And she was an amazing woman. She was a gospel singer in the church I likened her to Mahalia Jackson and all the greats. I mean, she was as good as that.
Oh.
And because my dad, as an Air Force Chief Master Sergeant, traveled us all over the world. I mean, I was born in Japan. I have a brother born in Germany. My sister was born in Savannah, but 3 days after she was born, was hightailing it to Germany to connect with my dad. So we traveled a lot, but my mom always kind of sang wherever we went. You know, if we were on a base in California, Norton Air Force Base, San Bernardino, California, they were asking her to sing for a Black History program or whatever that was. And so I realized after I had a chance to kind of reflect on this project, my mom was my first diva. She was really the first one who not only gave me the example, but she was the one who pushed me to do what I wanted to do, to be who I wanted to be. So my mom was the first diva. Diana Ross is a big diva for me. I've been obsessed with her from childhood. Just there's something about the aesthetic of her when I was young, just sort of the sparkle of it all, the sequin, those Bob Mackie gowns, that chignon, well, you know, initially slicked back, and then initially she pulled it out, and you know, really the first natural girl. It was a weave, but it was something that we now see on a daily basis being cared for in a pragmatic way. She introduced it to us as a look, as a possibility. And so for me, when I went deeper, like when I went into the celebrity bios, when I went into those sections of the library that told me more about these divas like Diana, their stories reflected my own. You know, Diana wasn't always the boss. You know, she was figuring it out in the Brewster Projects in Detroit. That humility from which you come to then show yourself as the best part of yourself, that's what Diana was to me. So as that little black boy who wasn't, I knew I wasn't like a lot of other black boys. You know, I didn't know to call it gay. I didn't know what to call it, but it was definitely, I wasn't.
You knew you were different.
I wasn't running outside to play ball. You know, I wasn't rushing to run outside to play ball. I did play, but I wasn't rushing. And so to that, I joke with my father. I tell my dad, there was a Broadway show just a few years ago called Magic Bird, and it was a musical that chronicled the iconic rivalry between Larry Bird, the Boston Celtic, and Magic Johnson, the LA Laker. You see, I've studied, right? But growing up, I ignored all those things. My father and my brother would be going on and on about sports, this, that, and the other. I knew nothing. It took a Broadway musical for me to finally understand rivalry between Magic Johnson.
You funny.
I'm just telling you. So I called my dad after I saw the show. I was like, Dad, I finally know what you've been talking about for all these years, you know. So he got a giggle out of that.
Do you like sports now? Or?
Well, you know, I'm into sport, like Super Bowl's coming, you know.
Be watching that.
Halftime show. But I'm saying that's how I watch. I watch based on halftime shows, who's singing the national anthem.
Yeah, I don't see the game at all.
You get what I'm saying.
Yes, I
you know,
do.
I'm snacking, you know,
yes.
sipping, you know.
Now tell me, so you're also a brand ambassador for Miss Jessie's?
Yes, yeah. Well, you know, Oprah wrapped in 2011, 2012. The years have gone so fast, and I have, since the show I was a contract field producer for the show, so I always maintained my independence and you know, I stayed freelance as a category, but she was my main and most lucrative client for 13 years. So for the show to end, I had to kind of diversify. And one of the ways in which I diversified, I found other great talent that I could produce, the likes of Wendy Williams, BET, et cetera. So places I could go and do as a field producer what I do. But I began to do more creative account receivable. I tried to attract some creative ways to keep the revenue streaming.
Got it.
And by that time, because of the blog, people were often coming to me saying, hey, can you talk about this? Can you say something about this? I've got this going on. Can you get it out to your people? You know, they knew I was kind of a tastemaker and in the know. And I had to find a space and a place where I could appraise that, where I could put a price tag on it. And Miss Jessie's CEO, Miko Branch, I met her at a dinner one night. And she said, I'd love to connect with you and partner with you on your AllStar Karaoke event. Maybe you can help me get some press, budgeted speaking, because she has a book out. Miss Jessie's creating a business from scratch naturally, a successful business from scratch naturally. And so that's a HarperCollins book. And so she wanted me to work with her on just kind of being in the mix. And so she retains me as a brand ambassador to help the Miss Jessie's brand get further out there. It's a very popular product in terms of what it does for kinky, curly, wavy hair. But I just kind of bring her along with me wherever I go. Product donation synergies, budgeted speaking appearances for her, just special places where we can have Miss Jessie's show up. I am.
So what do you call that, though? Because it sounds like almost like a manager.
Well, not manager, and you know the other thing, it sounds like PR.
Yeah.
But it's not. It really is kind of. She just sort of. She's into kind of where I go, the sense of where I go, and she follows that or followed it so much so that she's just kind of like, the rooms you're in are rooms that I'd love for Miss Jessie's to be in.
I got you.
And I have been for 4 years now working with her intimately to just introduce her to all of those opportunities. The book is a national bestseller. She's been on a slew of covers. She's on South Fulton Lifestyle Magazine's cover that's just out today in Atlanta. So I work with her to just keep her image and all the new things that are happening with Miss Jessie's out there.
Okay. I'm going to get to AllStar Karaoke, but not just yet.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so Arise Entertainment 360.
Yeah. Well, Rise Entertainment 360 is a show that I was a regular guest host on. It's an entertainment magazine show, Nigerian and UK based. And there was a New York hub that allowed me to kind of really do what I'd wanted to do for so many years, which is interview entertainment subjects as they come through town on their projects, celebrate what they're doing and working on in a very uplifting way. And any and everybody for the 4 years that I worked on that show came through. Arise also booked me as a pop culture theater expert. So periodically, maybe once every 2 weeks, I would do wonderful updates on either what great movies were going on or what great Broadway shows were going on.
You got free tickets to everything.
And still, because I'm still on the list.
Did you see Hamilton?
And I saw Hamilton twice. I saw it before it left the PAP, the public theater where it was introduced, and in its current location. Absolutely. Because I had to talk about it. So the PR people want to make sure I'm in that. You know, I hosted the opening night of Motown the Musical when it launched April 2013. And guess how that happened? Because I was on Arise talking about the shows that were coming to town, and you know, I went on and on about Motown because of what? Diana.
Yeah.
And then I was on Cozy TV, which is another
I'm familiar with
niche cable network that deals with nostalgia. And they have, via their local programming, would have me on to talk about things that were coming to town. Guess what I was talking about, Motown the Musical. The marketing people would have a meeting and talk about all the things, who's talking about us. And they had on a list that I was talking about them twice. Barry Gordy told them, we need a host for our video. And they hired me.
Look at this. This seems, you know, you done said this a couple times, that these things just sort of plop right into your lap.
Literally a plot, but from intention,
Yes.
you know, from real, you know, whatever I'm putting out there palpably, I have been a witness to see it come back.
Yeah.
I really have. And that, so to interview all of the Motown greats that night, the cast of Motown the Musical, and to find out that they produced that into a tape that lives on a loop on every theater that Motown the Musical travels.
Playing.
So I'm all over the world.
Stop playing.
So
really?
I have people who, when Motown the Musical's in Nebraska, I have people who say, I'm here looking at you on a loop in the thing, interviewing those people at opening night of Motown on Broadway, like that kind of thing. Wow. That was something I couldn't have imagined from my childhood room in Savannah, Georgia, when I was playing Diana, the boss at the top. I couldn't have even imagined that moment would happen, but it has happened in my lifetime. And that's years after Legends. So imagine, you know, Legends was a highlight in 2005, but I needed new things to happen in my life because that was such a highlight. And then came Motown, and you know, I have an and then came probably for each and every moment.
Okay, I don't want to run out of time. So let's move on to AllStar Karaoke. Tell us what that's about.
Well, it's interesting. Native restaurant. It's no longer Native. It's now Sexy Taco. But it was a restaurant in Harlem. The owner came to me and said, "Hey, I want you to do a networking night." And my partner Anthony, who's a former producer for the Wendy Williams Show, he's like, "You know what? Networking, you do it like you are networking. But why don't you do something that you're passionate about? Like don't make it another job on the 5 jobs you have." Why don't you do a karaoke night? And he says, instead of a karaoke night, we'll do it AllStar Karaoke. You can invite all your famous friends who you know sing. You can invite Tashina Arnold when she's in town because you know she sings. You can invite Monifa because we always would support Monifa when she'd do her shows in the Village, her band shows in the Village. So she'll come. She's like, you know somebody whose song is actually in the karaoke catalog, which is Monifa, So his vision was that we would do a karaoke night, but it would be next level. Multiple mics so that even if somebody wanted to sing and they couldn't sing, we can get somebody who could sing to kind of help them out, And that's it. So we started it at Native. Uber success. We would do it on Thursday nights. Then we went to Billy's Black. We would do it every Tuesday night. And it was just, Patrick Riley presents AllStar Karaoke in a way that the neighborhood responded, the industry responded. Before I knew it, Quinn was calling saying, "I want to bring my new client, Kiki Wyatt, by. Is it okay?" I'm like, "Are you kidding?" So now Kiki Wyatt's coming. They say, "Oh, she's only going to sing her new song." I'm like, "Well, that's fine. She can introduce her new song to the people." Before I knew it, Kiki Wyatt's jumping on the stage to sing "I Want to Dance with Somebody" with me, And so that's what has also kind of happened. Many of these artists are coming by. The choreographer, Lorianne Gibson, she just happened to come by because she loves karaoke and she's good friends with one of my AllStar Karaoke enthusiasts, Carla Bone, who's a hairstylist of the stars. She does Jada Pinkett Smith, Kerry Washington. So these are the people who are in the room. I always say for AllStar Karaoke, we never know who will show up because people like that show up and they end up on the stage having their karaoke, having the best time of their lives. So we have since taken it to Mist Harlem. We do it there as a periodic brunch. And Airbnb named us in 2017 the best way to experience karaoke in New York City.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's quite the honor.
Quite the honor and quite the, yet again, unsuspecting moment. I never would have thought that this thing that I just would do for free, karaoke, I love it. I sing. It's a way for me to do this thing that I don't want to do professionally, but that I do like to do.
All right, you hear the music, so you know we're almost out of time.
Making me sad.
I'm sorry.
You got to have me back.
Oh, absolutely.
This was a pleasure.
No, it was a pleasure for me, but I want you to tell people how they can find you real quick.
Oh, absolutely. You can find me on, the book, That's What Friends Are For, on the Women Who Inspired Me via Dorothy Books website. That's www.dorpiebooks.com.
Got it. All right, guys, we are out of time. I'd like to thank my guest, Patrick Riley, for sharing his industry knowledge with us today. Now, before I go, as always, I want to leave you with a few thoughts. I want you to, 1, remember that you can't change the game until you first learn the game. 2, always surround yourself with positive people and positive things. 3, do what you love and love what you do. And lastly, be who you are, but be who you are tastefully. Always have a little class about yourself. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Thanks for watching Model Behavior, and I'll see you guys next week. Class is officially dismissed. Bye, y'all.